Hello and welcome back to Stream Scoop, where we talk about the underside of film, anime, technology, pop culture, music, gaming, and so much more.
My name is Zai,
And I am Joed.
and again, we will be hanging out with you through today's podcast.
In today's episode of Stream Scoop, we will be discussing a bunch of new communication theories, which focus on cultural context theories.
But this time, we won't be stream scooping examples from mainstream media. Instead, we will be scooping them out from our own personal experiences. Heads up though, some situations mentioned might talk about sensitive topics.
Okay. So guys, it's start time with Joed and Zai. Naglaga na to Zai, ready ka na ba?
Excuse me, I'm born ready.
Oo,
Grabe ka naman,
taray. Ready na.
makalaglagan.
Siyempre naman, throwback na naman to eh.
Oo nga at dahil mukhang G na G ka na, let's start with our first theory. The first theory is called the gender-lect styles. From the name of the theory, you can already tell that it is about the differences in how two genders communicate. Developed by Deborah Tannen, the main premise of the theory is that communication between men and women is cross-cultural. This means that messages are processed differently by both genders, and that male and female discourse generally are of different cultures and should be viewed and analyzed as two different dialects despite the use of the same language. Tannen also highlights the motives behind how men and women communicate. Take note, the theory does not imply that every single person automatically acts this way. These motives in mind, but according to her, men communicate to seek and maintain superior status, while women communicate to seek and maintain connections. She also notes the different conversational styles between the two genders. Men have what she calls a report style of conversation, while women have a rapport style. Rapport, spelled with a T but pronounced without a T, is a term commonly used in psychology, but it generally means creating a bond with others. This means that men are very straight to the point when it comes to saying information and their opinions, and they communicate in a dominant manner to achieve what they want, while women are more mellow in how they talk, opening up and interacting through relational conversation. Before we go to our personal scenarios, do you agree with this theory, Joed? Because if you look at it, it is obvious that the male ego is kind of being put in the spotlight.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. And I do agree in this theory because I have some male friends who are very dominant, who are, you know, when girls are more when their girlfriends are more, earning in terms of earning na lang sa money. Sa mga ganon.
Mm,
They're
yeah,
very, how do I say this? I forgot the word. But
they're
yeah,
very
I do
strict,
agree. No, not strict. Like like their egos are
inflated, gano'n.
parang gano'n, oh. Parang naano sila na hindi dapat gano'n. Na very
Mm,
old school ba? Na they think they should be
yeah,
on top.
on top talaga.
Puta mo cut. Okay, go. Hayop ka.
Cut
Yawa.
siya bigla, eh, oh.
Piste.
Okay, okey.
Okay, go. Dami kong kakat dito. Okay, go.
Sobra.
Go.
For me, wait lang.
Hayop ka, Zai.
Sorry na, wait lang. Ano ba 'to pinaglalagay ko kasi dito? Gabi ko kasi ginawa, eh, wait lang, ayan.
Hmm.
For me, there can be women too who go for status and men who go for intimacy. But I also see here the obvious power play in societal stereotypes placed upon men and women. It is what's actually socially acceptable.
Yeah, yung sa sinabi ko nga kanina, most of my friends are going for the status rather than dun sa intimacy nga. Ikaw?
But has it ever caused like their relationship to end
Oo.
in some cases?
Oo, iba kasi talagang sobrang taas ng ego nila na hindi nila kaya babaan. And it's toxic na rin for
Aroy.
their relationship. So, it's better for them
Yeah.
to
Mm.
separate na lang din.
Yeah. I understand.
Yeah. Ikaw, do you have any experience with that?
Not when it comes to like in the context of like having a boyfriend kasi single AF. But honestly, my experience is simple. It's just watching over a bunch of kids as they play. So McDo play bleh, bleh, bleh. Sorry, cut. Ulit, ayun, action. Honestly, my experience is simple. Just watching over a bunch of kids as they play. Sa McDo place pa nga eh. I mean, I love McDo, diba?
Oo naman. Everyday McDo ka eh.
So, a little boy comes over to a bunch of other kids asking to play Rangers. Like, of course, I don't know. Rangers daw eh. Baka Power Rangers iniisip niya.
Power Rangers ka
Saying
daw.
he, no thanks. Saying he will be the leader. So, medyo bida-bida si kuya. And I could tell that the others didn't really like it. But
Church.
when a girl joins the bunch of kids, she doesn't ask them to play. Instead, she just sits down next to them and introduces herself, pointing towards another girl with her mom ordering food, whose shoes lights up every time she walked around. Alam mo naman yun, di ba? Nung bata tayo, yung shoes na nailaw, sikat ka nung kinder or elementary kapag may ganun ka.
Parang Star Wars sa sapatos. Yung parang motion
Actually,
sensor. Pag
yeah.
nag-step ka, nagla-lights up. Iba nga may sound pa eh.
Mm. So obviously, the little boy was trying to play the hero, wanting to be the lead playmate or ranger, while the little girl just struck up a friendly conversation. So from there, you can already see report versus report and status versus intimacy. Ayun, I was just watching them eating fries. Share ko lang, actually, I've never experienced yung ganyan, like play plays. Actually, my mom never let me play with strangers' kids. It sounds sad, pero okay lang. Basta may burger, happy na ako.
Grabe naman, ang confident naman ng batang yan.
Hindi ka ba ganun? Parang na-imagine ko super masayahin ka ng bata. Anyways, how about you? Any experiences?
Sa playpen. Lagi mong may nakakaaway doon kaya hindi nila ako pinapapunta ng nanay ko doon sa mga playpen. Lagi may naiyak na bata pag napasok ko sa loob eh.
Oh, 'di ba? Malupit de status talaga eh.
Lagi, laging, akin
Grabe
to!
ka.
Yan, laki kong bata. Malaki dyan. Tabi. So, kawawa na lang yung mga nakakalaro ko
Ay,
doon.
grabe, bully, bully.
Hindi, bakit ba? Loner din ako nung bata ako lang mag-isa eh. Gusto ko to, bakit ba? so, so, so ayun, our next theory is muted group theory, developed by Chairs Kamaray. The main statement of this theory is that in society,
In society.
there, there are social groups that are muted, meaning that these groups are mostly marginalized and therefore their concerns, ideas, and opinions are most likely overlooked and are sometimes received with harsh feedbacks. Because of this, they must adjust how they communicate to those groups who are dominant and have the power. Cramere also states that the language is the man-made construct and does not serve everyone equally. I think a good example of this is feeling out of place and realizing that you and your group aren't really minded much.
Joy, that pretty much sums up my high school life. I was one of those, but no one bothered me naman.
Natakot lang ata sila sa Zay.
Well, sanay na ako dyan. But what experience did you have with regards to this theory?
Oh, yun nga, yung sa mga playpen, ganun. Solo lang ako, tapos I'm minding my own business. And then epal sila.
Tapos hindi
So,
ka pinapansin.
oo, epal sila. Bala ka dyan, tulak ko na lang ganun. Tapos kung sumbong ka lang sa nanay mo, yak-yak na lang siya
Grabe
doon.
talaga oh.
I also kind of noticed this in school events such as focus group discussions, those students with special needs. Sila yung lagi nasa sideline. Mga di na, di na pinapansin masyado. Yeah, I do consider them part of a muted group because as the event goes on, you will notice that everyone has grouped up and they are enjoying, sharing stories, but those other students, if they try to share, you can tell only the professors is listening and no one reacts to them. So I'm sure that they would feel awkward. They try their best to join in. So I think it will be nice to acknowledge them too. Kahit minsan lang.
Yeah, just be respectful to everyone.
Yeah. Moving on, our next theory is called the standpoint theory by Sandra Harding and Julia Wood. This one is closely related to the muted group theory. since the muted theory talks about the difficulties of muted groups when it comes to communication. The standpoint theory focuses on the questioning the status quo. Its central tenet, which is all scholarly inquiry should start from the lives of the marginalized, highlights the importance of knowing and seeing the world from the standpoint of or perspective of this marginalized group, since we can never truly understand this through the lens of social groups in power, for these are the same groups which have determined and labeled the muted.
I honestly really like this theory. I mean, I'm quite deviant. I do like questioning authority. And I like that this theory reminds us that there's always more than one side to everything. My experience with this goes back to senior high naman. I know na hindi ka nag-senior high. And I think you're lucky. Kasi
Grabe
kami
naman.
pa yung talagang naabutan. Shout out to the first batch of K-12 students who will be graduating soon. Onting kembot na lang, so push nyo na yan. Anyways, for one of our classes, we were tasked to interview and give relief goods to a marginalized group of our choice. I was the leader for this group, and I chose our local street sweepers. They talked about struggles, and honestly, it made me despise corrupt people even more. In that moment, I saw how they perceive people like us, and I'm glad we helped them out in some way.
For sure, they will remember the act of goodwill.
Alright, guys, so we are down to our last two theories. This next theory is actually another favorite of mine.
Nako, ito na ata yung cut. Hilig mo talaga mag-snub.
So, if you're wondering what CAT means, it stands for Communication Accommodation Theory, whose proponent is none other than Howard Giles, a professor from UC Santa Barbara. He defines accommodation as the changes or adjustments that we make in how we communicate to reduce the barrier between us and who we are communicating to, and become closer with them. According to his theory, there are two strategic forms of communication: convergence and divergence. Convergence, in line with the concept of accommodation, is us adapting our communication behavior because we are in favor of establishing a certain level of similarity and comfort with a person. Divergence, on the other hand, is the complete opposite. The goal of divergence is non accommodation, meaning you may not even want to adjust your communication behavior at all, or just be completely and intentionally rude in how you communicate to put the other person off. I know it sounds mean, but I'm guilty. This happened when I was waiting for my sister once sa food court ng SNR. Syempre food place na naman kasi
Basta kainan
foodie.
na raw.
Basta kainan ako. And this creepy old guy just sat down and started talking to me. Who are you? Sorry, but no, no thank you.
Sugar daddy vibes ba? Pero pag pogi, biglang convergence po ang ating.
Oo naman, 100% accommodation yan. Gets mo naman.
Bad
I
trip.
mean, okay, for sure, naka-experience ka na din yan. Share mo naman.
Ako? Wala eh. Gina G lang ako lagi. Walang ayaw-ayaw dyan eh.
Kaya pala, no?
Convergence tayo. Sure.
Kaya pala laging hinahabol ng chicks.
Hindi hanap ko nga rin sugar daddy eh.
Iba na yan.
Pandemya eh, nangangailangan. Okay. Anyway, and last but not the least, is the co-cultural theory proposed by Mark Orb related to the muted group and standpoint theory discussed earlier. This theory focuses on the strategies or orientations that muted groups adapt to approach dominant groups, communicate, and survive. According to the theory, there are three outcomes and three approaches, which, when combined, results in a specific type of communication orientation.
The three outcomes are assimilation, or trying to get rid of whatever it is that labels you as part of a muted group in order to be accepted by the dominant group. Accommodation, insisting and appealing to the dominant culture to change their treatment towards muted groups, and separation, completely rejecting the dominant groups and their culture and refusing to make any move to be accepted by them. On the other hand, the three approaches are non assertive, or a non confrontational style; assertive, a communication practice that firmly expresses one's stand or belief but discusses them in a way that's still positive yet striking; and aggressive, which is a very straightforward way and can be perceived as hurtfully expressive.
So, all in all, the nine orientations under this theory are the following: non assertive separation, non assertive accommodation, non assertive assimilation, non assertive separation, assertive accommodation, assertive assimilation, aggressive separation, aggressive accommodation, and aggressive assimilation. Alam mo, ang dami pala ng Sean, no?
Kaya pa.
So,
Kaya pa,
so,
bro.
kaya pa naman. So, a good example of this is yung mga nag-rally. Nakaka-attend ka na ba ng mga ganun?
No, never.
I know someone that's very active sa mga ganyan eh. Like, di ba sa rally, magulo talaga most of the time. Makita
Yeah.
mo may taong tahimik lang, may hawak lang na sign, tas may megaphone, tas yung iba, war freak, nagigil na gigil talaga. Nang babato pa ng mga bato, tsinelas, mga ganun.
Yeah, yeah. I can clearly see it. So, yung taong tahimik lang na may hawak na sign, non-assertive yun. And then, yung may megaphone, yun yung lagi nagsasalita, tapos sumisigaw, yun yung assertive. And then, syempre, yung war freak, siya yung aggressive.
Oh, sila yung mga super
Yeah.
aggressive na
Mm.
talaga. Yung tipong binubuga na ng tubig, wala pa rin pake.
Yeah, I agree. I do have my personal stand when it comes to these issues because these are usually the hot topics naman sa mga ganyang rally eh. But I personally don't join in sa mga ganyan because I do have my own way naman of showing my support.
Yeah, I think di ko rin kaya mag ganun. Yung mga ganun. Masyado kasing crowded. I don't like crowded places. Yung mga
Mm, yeah.
siksikan. Tapos doon pa, samot-suring mga pawis na yung mga doon. Yung mga makakamoy mo doon. Pang mandirigma talaga eh.
Hindi
Ang
naman
hirap
kasi
din.
kailangan maging wild.
Yeah, we can do our own protests in a good way. Like,
Yeah.
we don't have
Mm.
to rally pa
Be
talaga.
violent.
Yeah,
Mm.
we don't have to be violent. So, that is it for today's, guys. Thanks for joining us in this episode. We had so much fun sharing our experience with you and hope you had fun as well.
As always, feel free to comment on what other theories and topics you guys want us to cover. And again, we will stream and scoop it out for you.
Thanks again, guys, and join us again on the next podcast. Bye!